High school football and high school sports coverage abroad here on the Kirby on Sports podcast. I thought it'd be cool to welcome in a very special guest making his way from Clemson up to Winchester, Virginia, one of the new sports reporters for the Winchester Star, Justin Robertson. And first and foremost, Justin, happy to have you on today.
Yeah, no, it's a great honor and a pleasure to be here. Super excited to make my first appearance on the Josh Kirby podcast. So yeah, I appreciate it.
So you have a lot of ties to Clemson. I know you've done some work down there. What sort of led you up to Winchester? And I know the timing of everything is maybe getting thrown into the fire, but what was your path like to get up here first? And how was it just all hands on deck? The wheels are turning. You're churning out content as soon as you're getting down here.
Yeah, so I mean, my journey really starts in high school. I grew up in Howard County, Maryland. Went to Glenelg High School. It's not too far up the road from Winchester. And even in high school, I always had a passion for sports journalism. I was the editor in chief of my high school paper, and it wasn't quite the level of what I even did at Clemson or what I did, what I'm doing here at Winchester. But I had a blast with it, and that kind of sparked my passion for the industry. And when I was trying to pick my school going to college, I just felt like I needed to fit somewhere where I felt home. So I also looked at other journalism schools. Georgia has a great journalism program, and I thought was going to be my number one option. But after I toured Clemson, I kind of knew that was going to be my home. Both my parents went there as well, so I had some background and just kind of how the university is run. The passion for sports down there, and so I went there as a freshman and immediately joined the Tiger, the student newspaper there, and kind of worked my way up the ranks from, sports reporter to sports editor to associate editor my final senior year. So got a lot of great experiences down there. Just covering Clemson football on a daily basis was a blast. There's nothing quite like covering a game in Death Valley and watching that top level of college football, and taught me a lot about the industry, taught me about how to cover a team, how to get those stories that maybe other outlets haven't grabbed, and always have had the kind of goal of getting into sports journalism full-time as a career. And to be honest, I never had been to Winchester before I took the job. But everything I've heard, my conversations with Cynthia and Rob, they were just great people to talk to. And I could tell that there was a tight-knit community here, and the overall staff had a good vibe to it. And, it's been everything I could have dreamed of so far. It's been a great experience. Everybody's been very welcoming, both, at the paper as well as just in the community. So it's been a pretty seamless transition for me so far. And I've kind of have had a blast with it. I think about 6 weeks into the job now.
So a little bit off topic from sports, but what have you seen around Winchester in your short time here so far? Have you been anywhere that you really like? I'm sure the Old Town Mall's on that list. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, that's where our office is. So it's always good to, just walk that every day and just see all the people out and about. Where I grew up in Howard County, I was in Western Howard County, so kind of rural area, lots of farms around. So similar to the outskirts of Winchester. And in my Airbnb where I was staying before I moved into my apartment, I was actually on a horse farm. So that was an experience. But it was it's been great. I mean, just walking around, seeing how nice people are, how people are just appreciative of living in Winchester. And also just the historic roots. You can tell it's a very tight-knit community, a community that prides itself on its history. So yeah, I mean, I've loved, there's lots of great Mexican restaurants as well. I've enjoyed that food here. So yeah, I mean, it's been great so far. And I'm kind of just looking forward to what's next down here as we get into the fall and December, which I think should be a beautiful time of year here.
Well, it seems to be all the sports doing well so far, and just all the fall sports are here. A busy time for the newspaper, I know. But let's just start. Your first day, your first byline, you're going to camp. And you can find Justin's work at J_P Robertson on X as well. But your first byline with the Clark County Eagles, just sort of your thoughts on the local area high school scene. I'll give you the first jab at Clark County since that was your first write up. But how was it just going to all the camps around there and seeing football in action up here in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, football is my favorite sport to cover by far. So it's definitely, it's been great being able to do that. First day, I did make my way up to Clark County to cover one of their first practices. And, on your first day, you always want to kind of feel out the vibe and, see how the coaches and the players are around, the media. And cannot say enough about Coach Childs and, how willing he is to talk to us. And all the coaches really, I mean, they've all been great here. But yeah, they like to have a lot of fun. They'll be the first one to admit it in practice. So it's good to talk to those players. Tanner Sipe, I wrote a feature on him as well. And you can tell he's just a great kid. And he's had some good success on the field as well. So yeah, Clark County was certainly a good first day for me. Good first story. Obviously, I was familiar with some of the players and Coach Childs, but as time went on, I got more familiar with the entire team, and that goes along with the other teams as well. So, it's been great. Definitely looking forward to just getting more acquainted with all of the players, not just, the handful that I've talked to so far. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to continuing the coverage of high school football here.
So, and we're already in week 3 of high school football. You made your way up to Rockridge. That got rained out. You covered Shenandoah so far and Millbrook so far, but the level of competition up here, I've been here pretty much all my life, and I must say that the competition up here is really good. What did you make after getting into sort of game action covering? What stood out to you from this season early on so far?
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I went to Shenandoah's opening game week 1, and they lost to Brentsville last year, and they kind of everything was going for them in that week 1 game. I mean, right off the bat, they were getting 4th down stops, they were getting turnovers. Micah Carlson finished with 3 rushing touchdowns that game, and they ended up shutting Brentsville out. And you could just tell there's a lot of confidence on that team, on that sideline. It never felt like they were feeling the pressure. It never felt like they were under duress. And you could just really, really feel that that's a team that could make a run deep in the season. And just talking with Micah and Coach Rohrball after the game, you could just tell that, they're staying poised, but they really like the team they have, and, they're looking to make a deep run. And as far as Millbrook, who I covered last week, they scored on their first 2 offensive plays. One of which was a Kyler Jackson long touchdown run. And, he's a special player. You can just tell the way he runs, the way he sees the field. He has a great ability as a rusher. And, as we get into the later part of the year where competition maybe ramps up, we'll see how those teams fare, deeper in the season. But I mean, all local teams that we cover are 2-0 right now. So it's been a great start for them, and we'll see how it shakes out down here in the stretch.
And some of the other teams you might have not gotten a chance to cover in a game. I saw you did a preview on Hanley Kettle Run as well, since you will be covering that game as we're recording this on a Friday. But just looking at some of these other teams, what have you seen? What have you heard that stands out to you from our other local teams that stands out to you in a way?
Yeah, I'm really excited to cover Hanley's game against Kettle Run. I mean, I know Kettle Run's been kind of Hanley's nemesis over the years. I think Hanley's dropped 11 out of the last 12 off the top of my head. So that should be a really, really fun game to watch and cover and see how that shakes out. I know that Hanley is one of the top teams in the area, and they have a lot of promise. So I mean, we'll see how it happens tonight, and then. As far as James Wood goes, I mean, they're a young team. Todd Wilson has done a good job so far, and they can really, really progress as the season goes on. Especially as Wilson's able to develop his program over the years. They have a lot of young talent, and they have an ability to compete with a lot of teams. And I mean, it's just been great. We'll see, kind of how everything shakes out down the stretch, and hopefully, as we get into these inter-area teams when they're playing each other, that will be a lot of fun. I know I'm covering James Wood a lot later this month and into October. So I'm looking forward to that.
When you got on board with the Winchester Star, I assume you were informed about the local trophy that goes around Shenandoah, Millbrook, Jameswood, and Hanley in the Bar Linden Crimson Apple, sponsored by the Winchester Star. That is a really coveted trophy in this area. Just what are your thoughts on that? And have you gotten a chance to see it yet?
I have not gotten a chance to see it yet. I know it's a big deal around here, and we'll see who takes it this year. I think there's starting to see some separation. Through 2 weeks. Obviously, not all the way yet. It's still early in the year. But as I mentioned earlier, I know this town and this area is really rooted in history and tradition, and they take a lot of pride in their high school sports. So I'm looking forward to seeing who takes that one later in the year.
And not even just high school football, but you're knee deep covering high school volleyball as well. James Wood Colonels coming off back to back state titles. I know you had an opportunity to cover James Wood volleyball twice. You went out to Shenandoah once, covered that volleyball team. Just your overall impressions on the volleyball scene in your mind, because looking from my point of view, it seems like there's a lot of competition in volleyball in this area as well.
Yeah, I mean there is, and it's been a great opportunity to cover volleyball. It's not really a sport I covered too much in college at Clemson, so it's been great. Just talking to all the players and all the coaches in the area. I think it's clear that James Wood is kind of the top tier team right now. They've deserved to be there. Winning back to back state championships. And covering those matches, you can tell that they're a really tight knit team. They know what they're doing. Everybody knows what their role is on the team. So they're certainly a great team, and they have some promise there to three-peat as state championships. But the other local teams have been great as well. I actually covered Shenandoah last night. They swept Hanley. And, both those teams are kind of going on two different trajectories going into last night's game. Hanley was 4-0, but Shenandoah dropped two straight. But then Shenandoah came in and swept them at home. It was a great environment. You could tell that a lot of cohesiveness on Shenandoah's team. So there's been some great volleyball action so far. Like football, it's still early in the year and early in the season, but I've loved every second of it, and I've really enjoyed talking to these players and coaches.
And not even just high school sports, but one level up with Shenandoah University. A lot of talent on their squad that you're covering as well.
Yeah, no, Shenandoah has been great. Really just covering football with them. But, when I went up to their first practice of fall camp, talking with head coach Scott Yoder, they lost a player over the summer, which is always a difficult situation, on any team and with any coach. And the way they handled themselves, they're going to play for him this year. And, it was great hearing how they're going to kind of memorialize him this season, and, kind of their plans to honor him. And you can tell there's a lot of confidence with them as well. I mean, Stephen Hugney, he's a fourth year starting quarterback. They defeat Methodist week 1, and, they're off this week before they have their home opener next week. So, we'll see how that team shakes out as well. I mean, they definitely want to do better than they did last year. And they're, still looking for their first ODAC championship. So kind of all their focus is on that and just trying to get better each and every week.
Well, it seems like you really have your hands full with Shenandoah, high school volleyball, high school football, as I said before, thrown into the fire. But from when you first hopped on to now, I feel like I would imagine that you've gotten a lot of good work that can help you down the line in terms of cultivating, making those relationships, and continuing it moving forward through your career with the Star.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the name of the game. Is it ultimately just takes some time to get acquainted with community members, with the other staffers at the paper, with the coaches, with the players, with the teams, with the high schools, with Shenandoah. It takes time, and as the weeks have gone by, I've definitely grown accustomed to just hearing names, knowing who people are, knowing the history of teams, and kind of the high schools just in general. So it's been a good day by day process, and that's kind of how I'm taking it. Is like a lot of these football teams, like a lot of these volleyball teams, just trying to take it day by day. Really, just trying to immerse myself in the culture and into the high school sports scene, and just trying to learn as much as I can. And I think that's the best way to learn, is kind of get thrown into the fire. You may make a few mistakes here and there, but it's all about just growing and learning and really just trying to do your best. And if you do that, in my opinion, you're going to find success in life and in your career.
So, looking in the future, are there any games you have circled that you're looking forward to getting out to covering here soon, or anything down the line you're working on that you can share?
Yeah, I mean, just off the bat, tonight's game between Hanley and Kettle Run, I'm really hoping for a good one there. Um, I think Hanley has a really good shot to win. It's Kettle Run's a good program. There's no doubt about that. So it's definitely gonna be a tough challenge for them. But I'm excited to watch that one. And as the season goes on, I think we'll kind of learn more about these teams in all the sports, and just get some more understanding of which teams may be better than others and which matchups might be better than others. So I'm not going to make any predictions there, but I will say covering volleyball, as I mentioned, has been great. I'm hoping as we get into the playoff implications and playoff runs for volleyball and football, that I'll be covering some highly anticipated matchups there.
Oh, trust me, once those rankings come out for the VHSL, it's all number crunching and figuring out who has to do what in order to get to the playoffs. That comes out in a couple weeks, but that's always a great time trying to figure that out. I'm sure you will be on the same boat I am, looking at those numbers, seeing what needs to happen for these teams to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the exciting time of the year, no matter what sport it is, no matter what level it is. It's funny when college football fans or NFL fans or NBA fans, toward the end of the regular season, they'll always kind of crunch the numbers and see, if these 8 teams lose and we win by 16 points or whatever it is, we'll make the playoffs. So it's always a fun time of the year, later in the fall and into the winter, for those fall sports.
Always doing great work in his short time in Winchester, but more to come from Justin Robertson, sports reporter at the Winchester Star. You can find him on X at J_P Robertson. But Justin, I must say this was a great pleasure getting you on, and looking forward to hopefully getting you on, talk more high school sports here in the future.
Yeah, no, it was a great show, Josh. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me on. Hopefully we'll be able to do this again soon.